Let's make adorable polymer clay keycaps. But there is just one problem, I've never made keycaps before, so I have no idea how they will turn out. Will the plastic melt? Will they be smooth? And what character should I even make? Hey, I'm Shugi, the artist behind Novyra Journey and Clay Art, and today I'm doing something I've never attempted before, making polymer clay keycaps. I've only tried baking plastic in the oven once before, when I made a polymer clay covered pen for my mom as a Christmas present. I spent hours perfecting it and then I baked it. Unfortunately, I had no idea that the type of pen I used wasn't suitable for baking, and it ended up shrinking, melting, and ruining everything I'd worked so hard on. After that disaster, I stayed away from making keycaps too. But recently, I realized I only had a small amount of polymer clay left, and while cleaning, I came across my keyboard box with some spare escape keys inside. So I decided to give it another shot and try my luck. First, I evened out the surface of the keycaps with some translucent clay to hopefully make them easier to work with. Then I covered two of the keycaps with white clay, which was actually pretty difficult because the keycaps underneath were blue and the color kept showing through. I had to redo them several times, and even after that they still weren't perfectly smooth. Next time I will try using a thinner layer of clay, which should also help ensure that the keycaps still fit properly on the keyboard. The remaining keycap I covered with light brown clay. Folding the clay over the keycap was actually surprisingly difficult. I thought that's going to be the easiest part, but it turned out to be one of the hardest ones. No matter how hard I tried, it just didn't want to be smooth. Some parts were so much bigger than the others, and the fingerprints I could barely get rid of. As a perfectionist, it's so difficult for me to accept that things don't turn out the way I want them to, and this was one of those times. I was really unhappy with how I covered the keycaps. I wanted them to be like the ones that the people who already made hundreds of them make. And I was extremely disappointed, but I kept pushing through because I wanted to finish this project. The first character I'm making is Miffy. I absolutely love Miffy. She's so adorable. I already own a Miffy plushie and the back charm, but honestly, if I could, I would own so many more Miffy items. I just don't have enough space or money for everything I want. Did you know that Miffy actually isn't Japanese? A lot of people assume she is because she's incredibly popular in Japan and there is so much Japanese exclusive merchandise featuring her. But Miffy is actually Dutch. She comes from Utrecht, and in the original books and cartoons, she wears an orange dress because orange is the national color of the Netherlands. I struggled quite a bit with making Miffy's mouth because every time I tried cleaning up the clay, it kept breaking off. And honestly, no matter how hard I try, I can never keep white polymer clay clean. I clean it with alcohol before and after baking, yet somehow I still find tiny specks of dirt after varnishing. Please tell me I'm not the only one with this problem. And if you have any recommendations or advice, please let me know in the comments. I decided to give Miffy a smaller and a larger pastel purple ribbon. Although I ended up changing them slightly off camera, I think the final version turned out even cuter. I decided to go with pastel purple over orange as pastel purple fits my room and keyboard much better. And after cleaning Miffy like 1,000 times, it was finally ready. I put it on the baking sheet and started working on the next one. The second character I made is my all-time favorite Pokemon, Sylveon. I've never really played Pokemon games or watched much of the anime, but I've always loved the evolutions, especially Sylveon. This was probably the most difficult keycap I made today because I had to mix all the colors myself from the 3 or 4 colors of clay I had left. Considering that, I think it turned out pretty well. Compared to Miffy, Sylveon has a lot more colors and details, so I had to figure out how to add all the pink and blue accents on top of the white base. The white ribbons were especially challenging to make. I'm also a little worried about whether they will hold up over time or not. Sadly, I had to do quite a bit of crafting off camera. Because these keycaps require such tiny details, I had to lean in really close while working, which meant I ended up covering the entire camera and working area. I wish I could film from multiple angles, but unfortunately that's not possible for me at the moment. But finally, Sylveon was done. And now for the last keycap. I went with my second favorite evolution, Leafeon. What is your favorite Pokemon or evolution? Please let me know in the comments, as I want to make some practice keycaps in the future and I need some ideas, and I feel like Pokemon are perfect starting point. In my head, I'm already starting to get carried away. I am thinking of making an entire keyboard inspired by either Pokemons or specific video game characters and just changing out all the keycaps for different characters. Of course, that's gonna take way too long, and if I ever do it, it's going to be a several month project and I won't be doing it at once because I don't want to burn out. And it will most likely just be a decorative piece. Making Leafeon was quite tricky. First of all, Leafeon has leaf-shaped ears and tail with lots of tiny cut details. I really struggled to get the shapes right, especially the tail. I had to remake it about 5 or 6 times before I was happy with it. I also used different methods to attach the details on each keycap. For Miffy, I used liquid clay to make sure the ears would stick. For Sylveon, I reinforced some pieces with tiny bits of wire. And for Leafeon, I mostly just pressed everything on and hoped for the best. So I'm really hoping it all holds together after baking. Another challenge was that I didn't have any green clay left. Instead, I sculpted most of the details using this light brown clay and then added color using chalk pastel. I shaved the pastel into powder with an X-Acto knife and applied it to the clay. The pastel powder was pretty difficult to control and I ended up getting color in places where I didn't want it. I had to keep cleaning the clay with alcohol, but eventually I managed to tidy up most of it. Luckily, I still had a little bit of dark chocolate colored clay left for the eyes and the ears. And finally, all the 3 keycaps were finished after enormous amount of time and cleaning. And it was finally time to put them into the oven. I was just praying for the best and that they wouldn't melt. Waiting for them to finish was probably the longest 30 minutes of my life, but luckily they all survived. And after that, you know what came? I had to clean them again. But after cleaning them once more with alcohol, it was finally time to varnish them. Originally, I wanted to use UV resin for extra durability, but I really don't enjoy working with resin, so I decided to use pouring glaze instead. I actually made a varnish comparison video over air dry clay already, so make sure to check that out if you're interested. I might make one for polymerclay in the future as well if there is any interest. Working with pouring glaze is so much easier and much more fun than with UV resin. It's not toxic and it's just so smooth and easy to use. I do have to see how they will hold up during constant use. For better durability, I decided to do 2 layers just to be sure. And here are the final results. I did end up making the keycaps just a little too thick, unfortunately. They don't fit my keyboard now. However, they fit my boyfriend's keyboard perfectly, so at least they won't go to waste. What do you think? How did I do for my first attempt? And should I add custom keycaps to my shop eventually? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you would like to support me, check out my shop linked in the description or in my bio. If you buy any 2 items, you can get 15% off by using the code on screen. You can find different K products and trinkets and some jewelry as well. If this video gets 20 likes, I will add custom keycaps to my shop. Thank you so much for watching. Have a lovely rest of your day. Stay safe and bye!